is or will be at sort of full maturity around 77 million baby boomers, Paul Hodge, the richest, the largest, potentially most powerful generation in the history of civilization. Why is it such a secret? Its power and potential such a secret, among others, to the presidential candidates who haven't seemed to be talking about it?
Well, I think a lot of factors go into play there. The baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. They're about 40 to 58 years old.
Yeah.
And the problems which would be associated with them from an entitlement point of view and other macro points of view were really down the road, so the parties weren't focusing on them. What has happened now is that the first baby boomers are going to turn 60 during the term of this next president, and some of them will be getting entitlements at the end of the this next presidency. So the point is that now we have to start concentrating.
I was going to say maybe they'll get entitlements, Paul. You're talking about maybe more people retiring and not being able to be supported by those relatively few, percentage-wise, who are still working in the workforce.
Well, that's true. I mean, there is an issue along those lines, but there are other issues in terms of lead times, in terms of preparing for the baby boom. While, you know, you're going to be, while we have enough, if you're just looking at Social Security, we have enough funds to pay as you go down for about 13, 15, 20 years. But at that point in time, you have to consider the fact that with the advancements in science and medical discoveries, people are going to be living substantially longer than official government estimates. So your bills are actually going to be extended out further. And what is happening is that people don't really understand that point. We really don't have a clear understanding as to how far this longevity is going to be extended out. Now, remember, this is good news, that people will be living longer and they will be living healthier, but we have to adjust for it.
No doubt.
We have time to do it if we start now.
Yeah, well said.
But it always strikes me that unless there is some sort of voting bloc that gets together vis-a-vis the seniors, who are very vocal and very good about going to each and every election, Paul Hodge, is there such an entity forming among the boomers? Because if not, even our president, who was a boomer himself, I think is not addressing the issue.
I think this age cohort, like other age cohorts, they don't vote as a block, as a general rule, just because of age. What they do vote is identified issues. In other words, the older people vote because they have the interest in what's happening with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. It affects them directly. And the same will happen with the baby boomers as they age. There will be more commonality of interest. For example, within this cohort, there is an interest in having good schools for their children, and that has been going on as they age, and other types of issues. But they don't vote as a block. When they get older, as a general rule, what happens is you vote at a higher rate as you get
older. Yeah.
So they will have more of an influence upon the what's going to happen here in our country.
So what I'm hearing from you, though, then, Paul, is that age is the determination as to what kind of policies are created, and the rest of us go be hanged until we're of such an age.
Well, I think in terms of certain subjects, yes, but I think in terms of the baby boomers, you're going to see something rather unusual. Because you have that 40 to 58 spread, about 18 years, there's a great diversity within that population of interests and goals, and how they view retirement, and how they're going to view their social lives, and whether they're going to have multiple careers and things along those lines. So it's going to be terribly exciting. I think it's going to generate all sorts of new things for our great things for our country.
Paul, yes, founder of the Harvard Generations Policy Journal. We'll give a website too before we finish, because that's where I found you. It's incredible stuff. You have your reputation as one of the great experts on the baby boomer generation. Why have not, what am I saying, travel and leisure, financial services, why haven't more companies focused in on the enormous buying power, albeit a different gang of people, baby boomers, more than they have? We're still catering, it seems to me as a country, to the 18 to 49 buyer.
That's a good point. And I think what is happening now is out there in the business world, they're finding more interest in this particular age cohort.
Yeah.
There have been some recent studies about the market power of this age cohort, and the fact that you have a great potential market there. Certainly as the age, certain portion of this age cohort is going to have tremendous disposable income, and there's tremendous opportunities in business to address their needs.
Paul, what's your journal?
I just wanted to say, though, is it because of the diversity of ages within the boomer generation that it's difficult for anybody to figure out how to market? Because you're talking 40, in your example anyway, 40 to 58 years of age.
I think that's a very good point. Yes, because of the different ages, they're at different points in their life. So you're going to be targeting, you're going to have sub-markets, and you're going to have to more specifically target those particular subgroups within that age cohort for whatever goods and services you're trying to sell.
Paul Dodge, when I go to Gen Policy, G-E-N, genpolicy.com, which is where I found Paul last week only, what am I going to see? What's there?
The first thing you're going to see is the first inaugural issue of the Harvard Generations Policy Journal. And it's the first journal of its kind in the country because it deals with the aging of the American baby boomers. And that's its mission. And it's also going to be dealing with certain issues dealing with global aging. And that you can download the articles from the site, and it's a public service effort.
And that's genpolicy.com. Good. One more minute,
genpolicy.com.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Paul.
Paul, obviously this is the big issue that has to be faced by the United States of America. But are there baby boom generations in other countries around the world, and any countries that maybe already are getting a handle on it?
Better than we
There
are.
are.
Yeah.
There are. I don't know if it's necessary we're going to getting a handle on it. But for example, in Western Europe, they're ahead of us. For example, Italy, other countries, they're ahead of us in terms of the aging of their populations. Within the next 10 years, you'll be walking down the street of Paris, and maybe on around about 40% of the people walking by you are going to be over 65.
Wow.
That Europe is facing an issue as to their sustainability in terms of their growth. If you have an older population, how are you going to sustain growth unless you employ people at older ages or have immigration? China has a baby boomer issue going on, which they're dealing. Japan is on the verge, is right now dealing with a very old population. How is this going to impact the United States? Because if Japan has to spend more money on entitlements, how are they going to buy U.S. debt? If you're down there in Argentina and Brazil, they have a baby boom issue in terms of tragic situation occurring in sub-Sahara because of AIDS. You have countries where you have very old populations and very young. In the middle, you don't have anything. So the question is, how do you devise a safety net to protect these two vulnerable populations within that type of an environment?
Paul Hodge, we've got to move along. We appreciate it. We commend all our viewers around the world to go to genpolicy.com, see what's there, some good stuff, and come on back and see us, Paul. Let's talk about this as it goes.
I look forward to it, and thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you.
Good guy. I like him.
Yeah. An interesting topic.